So we asked the question, does servant leadership really work? I think the statistic that we showed here says yes, but what about a real life example? What about a real life example of moving from command and control to servant leadership? I want to introduce you to a gentleman by the name of David Marquette. David Marquette. And David Marquette is a retired United States Navy officer. And he is now a leading organizational management consultant and the author of this book, Turn the Ship Around. And I like the subtitle. It says The True Story of Turning Followers into Leaders. And that's what David Marquette did. So just to give you a brief background, David Marquette was a Naval Academy graduate, and his specialty was nuclear submarines. That's what he studied, to be commander of a nuclear submarine. So he studied and he trained for that. So, and then he got assigned to a nuclear submarine to be captain of a nuclear submarine. Then something happened to where the captain of a ship of another submarine just decided to quit. And so they assigned this non-nuclear submarine to David Marquette. And so, and his situation was that he wasn't really trained on this different type of submarine. But because he was an excellent leader, because he was an excellent manager, his command said, we'll give this to you. And so he takes it, and then he says, okay, all right, let's try this out, even though I'm walking into a situation to where I'm not as familiar with as I'd like to be. And as leaders, and as leaders, as individuals, often that happens. So as we have to get put into a situation that we're not totally familiar with, but we have to take the challenge as well. So what happened? So a month into his new command, they were performing an exercise. They were out in ocean performing an exercise, and so he gives a command. And then he, as the captain of the ship, he gives the command, and then the officer of the deck repeats that command, and then the individuals execute that command. So that's what took place. He gave a command. The officer of the deck repeated that command, but the individual that was supposed to execute the command didn't do anything. And so now you have the captain who's given a command, and that command was not executed. So he goes down to the individual that is supposed to execute the command, and he says, why haven't you done this? Why didn't you execute this command? And he said, sir, the command that you gave, this ship doesn't do that maneuver. We're not a nuclear sub, we're a different kind of sub, and this submarine doesn't execute that maneuver. And he says, interesting. Then he goes to the officer of the deck who repeated his command, and he says, okay, you've been on this ship for a long, long time. You've been on this submarine for a long, long time. When I gave the command, why did you repeat that command? And the officer of the deck said, I repeated the command because that's what you told me to do. I said, what do you mean that's what I told you to do? You are the captain. You are the leader. You told me to execute the command. and I executed the command. And he said, even though this particular ship, the command didn't apply to this particular submarine, it can't execute that command. He's, yep, because that's how I was trained. You tell me, I do it. And so right then, David Marquette says, wow, we've got a problem. It's because, here I am on a ship that I'm not extremely familiar with, and I'm giving commands that can't be executed. If this kind of situation continues, then I put the entire crew at risk. The entire crew at risk. So he says, so that's when he began to look for another leadership style. And the leadership style, the conclusion he came to was the leadership style of leader follower was a problem, because that leadership style of leader follower, it creates two groups of people, leaders and followers. That's it, leaders and followers. And the primary focus is to control people. But what happens is, what happened with him, he's got the situation, and he's in the situation where he's giving commands, and he's giving those commands without having all of the information. Now, the leader-follower leadership style has been around for a long time, and it's been, as I said, it's been very, very successful in some situations.